Last week, I introduced an addition to our meditation technique. So in case you weren't there, I'm going to review that quickly, right? So basically the idea here is, in our tradition, joy isn't just some happenstance. We happen to win the lottery and we're joyful. Well, that would make us joyful. Or we fall in love and we're joyful. And all those things that happen in our life, occasionally it's deeper than that. It's something that we can actually practice. And the masters, over the years, over the centuries, have taught us that it's something that we need to have in order to enter into higher divine states of consciousness. So if it's something we need to have, it can't be just a happenstance. So they teach us ways in which we can experience it, practical ways. So the first lesson I taught last week is really the heart of it, and I'll just repeat the most important part of it, which is that in our meditation, we can use the word for joy, which is simcha, okay? We can use that word in our meditation, and I'll explain how, that we can experience joy within us. And we talked about the word simcha, and I'll put it up how it's spelled like this last week, right? And the way it's spelled, and I talked about the first two letters last week, it starts with Shin Mem. So in our tradition, and we teach from the Sefer Yetzirah, that the way things come out of the unbounded, divine, pure consciousness that we call Ein Sof is through the pure silence and unbounded experience of the Aleph into Mem, into Shin. And then further on and on and on into more and more relative spheres of existence. When we go the other way, Shin, Mem, we're going back inward. So the indication here in this word simcha, the beginning two letters, is indicating to us we're finding joy by going from Shin to Mem to Aleph. This is the practice we have in our meditation, regardless of our letter. We're using Vav, we're using whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We're experiencing conscious thinking level to subconscious to deeper and deeper, till we experience no thought, and that's divine joy there. So at that point, this is the consciousness of joy. So what we're doing now is we're taking this word simcha in its entirety, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about this next letter, which is chet. We're having simcha, and what we're going to do is we're going to meditate like we always do. We start with the breathing, and then we articulate the letter we're using. It may be Vav today for our group, or if you're using your own personal letter. And then we internalize it in a mindlessness way, right? So we just experience whatever we experience. No narrative. We're not thinking joy, we're not thinking anything. We're just having that experience of mindlessness. Then towards the end of that meditation, we just introduce internally the word simcha. The whole word. Like that. Just like the letter Vav. So we're saying Vav internally. Now at the end of our meditation, maybe the last 4 minutes, whatever, 3 minutes, we introduce simcha. The difference is when we introduce simcha, we have the understanding that its vibrational energy is joy. So there is this ever so slight mindfulness to it. Slight. So that makes it a little different than the first part of our meditation. We're not introducing any understanding. We're having a very slight understanding in this end of this meditation, right? So that's the first lesson, okay? And we're going to do that when we do our meditation as soon as I'm done talking. The second lesson today we're going to look at the letter Chet. And in this way, we're looking at this letter Chet here, and we're experiencing it as our individual lives, the energy of our individual lives, right? Chet is the first letter and the powerful energy of the word Chai, which is life in Hebrew, right? So we have our individual lives that we want to experience joy in the world of action, in the world of interplay of life, when we're at work, when we're with our husbands and wives and lovers and eating food and all this, right? So in our individual lives, we are going to be able to experience joy and simcha. And how that starts is, of course, with our meditation, where we're having this experience of joy within us. And this joy is not, it doesn't show up, or, it doesn't mean that we don't have sadness, we don't have fear, we no longer have anger. It doesn't mean that at all. We go through the whole range of emotions and experiences of human life. It's part of who we are. What it does mean is that transcendent joy that we experience in our meditation is there even during those times of pain, like kidney stones or giving birth or anything like that. Even during those times of pain, during the times of sorrow, during times of fear, we're able to touch that joy and that consciousness that's within us. So this is not about mood making and hippy-dippy, I'm happy all the time kind of thing. This is about experiencing that joy within us, and then as we go about our lives, we touch that joy that's there. So going to the Tanakh in Jeremiah 33:11, the words kol sason ve'kol simcha, right, are written. 33:11, kol sason ve'kol simcha. So we recognize one of those words right away, simcha, right? This is what we're talking about, joy. In this translation, kol is sound, it's a voice. In Kabbalah, when we use the word kol, it's an inner voice. So Jeremiah is saying, have this inner voice, have this inner joy, kol sason ve'kol simcha. Have this rejoicing and gladness and joy, like kol chatan ve'kol chala, like the bride and the bridegroom. What is this? For ourselves, it's the unity of us and the divine within us, the bride and the bridegroom. It's our union with the bridegroom within us, or the bride within us. That's how we do it. So that's an expression. Simcha is all over the Tanakh, everywhere. Whenever we have a holiday, there's a commandment of simcha, right? So in our individual lives, we experience this inner voice of joy in our activity. And also in our individual lives, we choose those things that give us joy. We don't have to feel guilty about it, providing we take the one important rule, which is do no harm. So it's a fake joy if you're enjoying something at someone else's expense, right? So we all know that here. I'm not going to get into that and waste your time. So there's no reason to feel guilty experiencing joy if you're doing no harm. And doing no harm is something you have to figure out for yourself. You don't need me to tell you what's harmful and what isn't harmful. But we go about our daily lives knowing that joy is not only good, it's an imperative, right? So we have friends that give us joy. Nothing wrong with that, right? We We eat the things that give us joy. Now, let's say do no harm is an issue there, but you figure that out for yourself, right? It's okay to have a glass of wine if it brings us joy. It's okay to see the Grateful Dead if it brings us joy, right? All of these things are good for us, and it's important. This is the creation, and we should enjoy the creation. We should enjoy a walk in the woods. So we take a list and we say, hey, you know what? I get a lot of joy when I'm with David Hillel Milks, so I'm going to hang out with him more. Or I get some joy when I'm with Marlena. And these things we should do. So as we choose joy in our lives, it becomes more and more a part of who we are. Because that's just the way life is. What you put into yourself, spiritually, physically, and emotionally, is the way you become. It's what you feed yourself and what you experience and what you choose, you become. So as an individual, we shouldn't be afraid to choose joy as long as we're doing no harm.